Well, hello, my school bus friends. So, I thought I would talk about something that might be on some people's minds if they're thinking about becoming a bus driver, or if you are a bus driver and you're new, or if you ride a bus and you're just curious, or if you're bored and just flipping around on YouTube and you found this video. Whatevs. Okay, so I made a list a long time ago on a Facebook group. I asked, what was your biggest fear when you were a new driver? And I actually wrote that to get ideas for a video, and I'm taking the answers that they wrote and I have scaled them from 1 through 8. Apparently there's 8. I categorized them out of fears. So I put tallies next to how many people actually had that fear, and then I put them in order. So I'm going to start with the not so popular ones, and I'm going to go down to the most popular ones. So, what are your biggest fears as a new bus driver? Or what was your biggest fear as a new bus driver? So, one of them was angry parents. And I gotta say that was one of my biggest fears too. And admittedly, sometimes I'm still a little nervous about that, depending on how many times I've written up a kid. Honestly, I've expected to see an angry parent at the bus stop the next day, but it's actually never happened to me. What we do in my district is, say a parent is mad at you because they feel like you're picking on their kid, is you can have with us, it's like you can talk to the office, and then you need to talk to your supervisor about what's going on with the kid. Honestly, if you're writing a kid up a lot, you should talk to your supervisor anyway, so the school might have a meeting with that parent. But it's against the law for any human, at least in Texas, I don't know how it is nationwide, but they are not allowed to step foot on this bus unless they're part of the school board or school employee. So parents aren't even allowed to come up here and help sit their kids down or anything like that. So you can use that. It says in big red letters on the bus. Let's see what I can find here. If I can find it. Of course, mine doesn't say it. That's weird. Well, maybe I should get that sticker. But on other buses, it usually says that it's against the law. It's like a $500 fine if somebody comes on the bus. I actually don't have that sign. Weird. Well, now we know. Now we know that I might get that sticker in here. But hopefully you'll never, ever have that problem. It's very rare. You might get an angry parent complaining, but if they try to assault you, like, that would be really rare. And I would suggest, definitely defend yourself, but if they assault you, girl, it's better to just just not hit them back and be like, dude, you are in so much trouble now for assaulting a school employee, a school bus driver. Do what you do. I just, I've thought about it, and I'm like, they would be in so much trouble for assaulting me, but I'm definitely not going to allow someone to beat me up or anything. Okay, so angry parents. Okay, so the next one is driving a standard. I have never seen a standard school bus. We used to have them here, and your district might have some. There's still some floating around, and some of the people that commented said driving a standard on icy roads, doing narrow curves or sharp curves down a mountain. So that's pretty extreme. That's pretty extreme. I've never had to do that. I've always just driven automatics. Most buses are automatics. I honestly don't even know if they make standard buses anymore. If they do, I've never worked for a district that had them or bought them. They might have some in the lot, but the new buses that come in are all automatics. So if you work for a district that has that problem, I would just suggest and ask for more training on that. The key, I think, for most of the answers to these fears is driving slow. You definitely don't want to go too fast. And once you learn how to drive a standard, it's not hard. I think it's scary learning it, but after you learn it, it's not scary anymore. So just keep practicing and don't let that fear stop you. Just go slow. Okay, the next fear is, let's see, evacuating, having a fire, evacuating wheelchairs, and sliding sideways. Those are I put all those together. Sliding sideways, that could probably go with weather, but so evacuating and having a fire. I actually had to do that this year with a wheelchair student, but thankfully my bus didn't catch in flames. It just, some sparks were coming out of the engine, so I shut the engine off and we evacuated, and we went ahead and did the lift with the wheelchair. And I was a little shaken because I never had to evacuate before, but kids get up. What they suggest doing is like, let me show you. I wonder if I can switch my camera. I don't think I can. Okay, so what they suggest doing is like this seat goes first, and then this seat, and then this seat, and then this seat. They want you to kind of do like a zigzag. I couldn't see it, so I hope that wasn't too confusing. But it's like, one seat, this over here. I feel like it's backwards. It is backwards. Okay, so like this seat, and then 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 that seat. So go in a zigzag. But if you don't have that many kids, like I really only had 4 kids on my bus. So we said, get up, let's go. And the monitor and I got the kids, and we were actually in front of someone's driveway, so we had them go stand away from the bus underneath their garage in a safe place at a safe distance. If your bus has flames coming up off of it, turn your bus off. And every bus is going to have one of these. This is a seatbelt cutter. I drive a special needs bus. You might have a regular bus. You might have a special need bus, okay? If your bus has seatbelts, the kids are required by law to wear them, even if you only have like 2 seatbelts on your bus. I've had buses like that. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's what the law is. So on my special needs bus, I have seatbelts in every single seat. And if I have flames coming up, most of the kids are going to be able to unbuckle themselves and evacuate, whether through the back door or through the front door. But as far as my wheelchair kid goes, I'm not doing the lift. I'm cutting him out. If I can't unbuckle him, if I can't get him out of the chair, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to get him or her out of the wheelchair, and I'm grabbing the child and taking the child off the bus. Let the wheelchair burn, man. Save the child. So that was the big fear, was the fire, having a fire. You will get trained on what to do in case of a fire. One thing is that fires happen really fast, so you want to act fast in case that does happen. But I hope that it never happens to you. Sliding sideways, that is a big fear. I think that's more towards weather, but hopefully that doesn't happen to you or me or anybody. Okay, so the next one is backing, and that's a really big one. I'm surprised that's so far down on the list, actually. I think backing was one of my biggest fears. Let's see, they put backing on narrow roads, and backing from their parking spot and hitting their mirrors up front. So they were afraid that they might knock off some of those. And actually, you need to be careful. Where's my mirrors? With all those mirrors, because when you're backing, sometimes it's easy to forget to look at them. It's happened to me. Thankfully, I've never hit my mirrors, but that actually is pretty common for new drivers to make that mistake and hit mirrors. So watch your mirrors when you're backing. Just back slow, honk your horn. I put my bus in reverse, but I don't move. I let my back alarm go off first, and then I hit my horn a couple times in case somebody's walking back there. They know that I'm backing. Because in the parking lot, you can't see. You know, you're surrounded by buses. So you can get up and walk back there and make sure you can look both ways, make sure that nobody's coming. And definitely do that if you're not in your regular parking spot. If you're having to back and say you're at HEB on a field trip and you have to back for some reason, or you're in a parking lot somewhere, you definitely want to check your mirrors, check your surroundings before backing. Don't be in a hurry and look. Some say goal, GOAL, get out and look. You don't want to make a mistake of just being in a hurry and assuming that there's nothing back there, because you know what they say about assuming. You know, you want to be safe. You don't want to hit anything. So just do it slowly. Check your mirrors. If you're a new driver and you have to get up 2 or 3 times to check, then I say do it. Hopefully you're not on a busy road. You don't want to be unsafe. I mean, I don't want to assume or think that you don't have enough common sense to not back up on like a highway. You don't want to do that. But you want to get out of the road. You want to be safe. So stay safe. But get out and look. Or, you know, you can walk all the way to the back and look. Be safe. Don't let backing be something that stops you, because you'll get used to it. And if you have older kids on the bus, a lot of times they'll help you say, am I clear? Am I clear? And they'll tell you yes. I've had to do that before. It's like, hey, am I clear? Am I good? Is there a car coming? I've actually had to, I went down the wrong street one day and it was a dead end. So there was another street that I had to pull into and then back up. And I was like, are we clear? They're like, we're good. Nobody's coming. So the kids will help you if you need them to. Okay, so there's backing. Backing on narrow roads. I think that just be safe, be slow, and look. Make sure you're not about to fall into a ditch, okay? Okay, the next fear is other drivers. So some of the comments said, I didn't know that there were so many idiot drivers until I started driving a bus. Somebody said that they're afraid even to this day of being hit by a semi. When you get your CDL, I guess you kind of learn that they expect more from a CDL driver. So we drive safer, slower, more cautiously, and we do have to look out for other drivers, because for the most part, people want to go around the bus. They don't want to get stuck behind it. So you have some idiots out there that will do stupid things. As far as getting hit by a semi, I guess I can see that if you have your stop lights on, or you turn on your ambers and you're slowing down and you're on a major highway. Unfortunately, sometimes there are stops like that. And you're looking in the mirror because you need the kid to get on or off. And there are semis out there. So that, I can see that being a legitimate fear. Actually, now that I think about it, I've worked with people that have had that fear. They had to stop on a major highway. And sometimes that does happen. One thing that I do if I have to stop on busy streets is I turn on my ambers in plenty of time, like about 2 blocks away. Honestly, I'm just being honest. That way the traffic knows I'm about to stop. And I slow down and I was going to say that I try to turn my stop sign on right before I stop, but I try to look and make sure that nobody's about to hit my stop sign too. So it's kind of like a dance. But that was also on another bus I used to drive this year. I drive a special need bus, so I don't have an emergency stop sign button like my big bus had. So now I have to actually open my door for my stop sign to come out. But just keep your eye on your surroundings. Don't let the kids off if you feel like there's a danger. People run our stop signs all the time. All I can say is just, you're there, you're in the situation, just keep your eyes open and give them plenty of time. So I have seen some drivers not even turn on their stoplights or not even their ambers until they open their door to let the kid on and off. It's like they're slowing down, the bus is not alerting anybody, and then they open the door and next thing you know the reds are going off and there's a kid going off. Don't be like that. You want to give traffic notice that you're about to stop. Does that mean that they're going to stop? No, not all the time. But hopefully you're lucky like I have been before and there's a cop and we'll give them a ticket for running your stop sign. Okay, so the next three are the most feared in our industry. Getting lost, new routes, being a sub driver, and field trips. I put those all under one category. So, okay, so if you work in a district that have radios like we have, then you can, if you feel lost or you don't know where you are, you can always call base and say, hey, I'm on this street and that street, and I need to get to this street, but I don't know how. That's what we do. I don't know how other districts, if they have GPS. I have never worked for a district with GPS, but I've always worked with a district with radios. So there's always somebody on the radio to help you if you get lost. New routes, they say driving new routes without knowing the kids and without knowing the route, that can be hard. And if you work in the morning and if you're a sub driver, or even if you're not a sub driver, it might help to have a little keychain flashlight, because sometimes when you're doing the route, you're going to have to look at that route sheet while you're on the route, and it's not always easy. So it's good to have a little light. There should be route sheets. How we follow the route is our district has route sheets. They'll be turn by turns and where to stop. It depends on the route, on how accurate the route sheet is, because sometimes they're not accurate. Sometimes they get new students or students on the route sheet have never ridden, and they've never updated the route sheet. So you as a bus driver, take that note and you keep an updated route sheet. I'm constantly updating my route sheet because it's always changing. That's another thing. Don't get used to your route because it's always going to change. Kids move and kids move. So you're going to get some, you're going to lose some. You're going to gain some are going to disappear. Some aren't going to ride for 2 months and then all of a sudden they are back. So it's just constantly keeping up with it. But being a sub driver is actually a good thing because you learn all the streets. It actually helped me learn, but this right here was one of my biggest fears, and this actually happened to me. I was a sub driver, and I went out into the country, into these cornfields, and there were no street signs on any of the freaking streets, and some of the streets had, if they did have a dang street sign, they were similar. They had similar names. I think, for example, let's just say it was like Wiener Schnitzel School Road. And then, I'm supposed to turn on Wiener Schnitzel School Drive. You see what I'm saying? And I'm like, which one is it? Like, that was a legit problem I had. They weren't actually called Wiener Schnitzel, but it was a weird street name like that. And the other streets didn't have any street signs. So I'm on the radio saying, I am lost. All I see is corn. And I was a little frustrated, but it was just, they're like, you got to take a right and then just follow it around for a few miles. And then you should see Wiener Schnitzel School Drive. And then you take a left and then you go and turn down this street, but there's no street signs. I think I picked up one student that morning because I was so lost. But when I came back in, they were laughing. Other buses that knew the area went and picked up the kids, and they were laughing. They were like, good job. You you didn't quit. And as frustrating as it was, what could I have done? And it just turned out to be a funny story. Like, it's a funny story now. My worst day ever, So don't let it keep you afraid. Field trips, you'll usually know in advance of when to go on a field trip and where you're going. So you can pre-map it. Sometimes I will write a map down for myself on where to go. But usually I turn my map on and I'll throw my phone down somewhere and I'll just glance at it. Or I'll turn the phone off, but I'll have the map talk to me and I'll listen to what she says and I'll just do turn by turn. She's like, turn left now. Then I'll do that. If you're not comfortable doing field trips, you usually don't have to. Field trips are usually something that you want to do, so you put in for them. So they shouldn't make you do them. That should be your choice. And say that it's in a big city like Houston, you can decline it and say, I'm not comfortable doing that. And they'll say, okay, well, we'll find somebody else. So you don't have to do something that you're not comfortable doing. Okay, student management. Okay, so hopefully you work at a district that gives you some training on student management. I have a couple videos on it. You just, one big thing about student management, I think, is a seating chart and seating them with people that they either get along with or won't get in trouble with. I can't say that it's always easy because I'm actually having trouble with my seating chart right now because I have such a small bus. I only have 10 seats, but I have a whole lot of kids. They just keep coming. And separating them isn't always easy, okay? So it can be a struggle, but you write them up. Write them up. Write them up. I'm not saying that every time they do something, write them up, but if they aren't listening to you, if they don't know how to behave on the bus, write them up. That you're doing your job, okay? And they're either going to get kicked off the bus, at least for 3 days, maybe 1 day, maybe a week. It just depends wherever you work at. Or they're going to probably stop riding because they're tired of being in trouble. Or they're going to behave. They're going to start acting right because they know you're not going to put up with it. The thing I would say to you is don't put up with kids acting like fools. Because if you allow it, they're going to get worse. And then when you try to control them later, they're just going to laugh at you because you haven't had structure. So have structure on your bus. Don't put up with crap. You're the grown up on the bus. So you are going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. They are going to talk back to you. They are going to cuss at you sometimes. But don't be afraid to be a school bus driver because of this. Because I think this was my biggest fear. I'm like, oh my gosh, the kids are so bad. They're going to be so bad. They're all going to be like gang members and they're going to punch me in the face. And I don't know what gave me those ideas because they're really not like that at all. They might have horrible attitudes. You got to think of where some of these kids grow up, how some of them don't even have parents, You just work with them. Try to be understanding that they are kids and that you don't know what they go through. I'm just saying, try to have compassion along with discipline. And if they see that you're on their side, sometimes they'll be good just because they want to to please you, even if they act bad everywhere else in the world. If they see that you're giving them a chance and that you see a good kid in them, that they're going to try and show that good kid in you. But if not, some of them are hard as rocks and don't care about anything that you have to say, then just write them up to try and get them off your bus. If you have a rowdy bus, then write up kids that deserve it. And if you write them up for doing something, then as somebody else does the same thing, then you need to write them up too, okay? Don't play favorites. But after they start getting referrals and start getting kicked off the bus, your bus will get better. It usually, a bad route seems really bad, but after some of the worst start getting kicked off, it's almost like the bus is so good. Because those 2 clowns, or 3, or whatever it is, once they're off, the other kids behave because the other kids are just laughing and being influenced negatively by the 3 monkeys on the bus or whatever, like monkeys in a barrel. So sometimes they're not even bad kids. They're hyper or they don't know how to sit down. I would just say, just keep writing them up, Okay, so what else did I write next to student management? Oh, just kids in general. Some people wrote that they're just afraid to drive a bus with kids on it. And I think that was partially fear of how the kids would act and partially a fear of being responsible for the lives of the kids on the bus. And I really appreciate that fear because that will keep you driving safely. It keeps me driving safely, and as well as the lives on the road. That is a legitimate thing to consider and to keep in mind. You don't want to forget how important it is that you drive safely. Okay, and the number one fear is bad weather. Snow, curves, going uphill, driving at night. Driving at night was another big one. So snow and sleet, rain, driving at night, driving in bad weather around curves. I would just say, like, I think the key to that is going slow is your speed. Just go slow. I hope that you don't slip on ice, definitely. I hope I don't slip on ice. You just don't want to drive fast. You don't want to drive the posted speed limits in the snow and rain. Drive slower. Drive 10 miles if you have to. Go a safe speed. Don't hit your brakes hard. I live in Texas where it doesn't snow too much or freeze too much, so I don't have a lot of experience in that, but sometimes it does freeze and we just have to drive slow, be cautious. So I hope this helps. I hope that this might have given you a little peace of mind that no matter what job you're going to get, there's going to be some fears to it, but don't let them stop you from doing the job unless you're a bad driver. If you're a bad driver, then don't be a school bus driver. And I'm just saying that because it's not a good job for you. You could be a school bus monitor, but just be safe. Be safe out there. And I'm trying to think of what my biggest fear was when I was a new bus driver. Okay, I remembered I had to think. My biggest fear was the tail swing. What's a tail swing? I'm glad you asked. Okay, so a tail swing is, since the bus... Okay, since the bus is so big and so long, okay, when it turns... You see the butt of the bus? The butt of the bus turns. I gotta hide where I work. The butt of the bus turns because it's a straight truck, right? It's not like an 18-wheeler where the inside, where the trailer goes on the inside of the road. A school bus goes towards the outside. So if you're taking a right turn then the person in the left lane to you risks being hit by your tail swing. So when I was a new driver, it took me forever to get the whole tail swing thing. I was afraid to make turns. Actually, one of the people said making right turns on the thing, but I didn't write it down because it was only that one person. But I guess that was my biggest fear. Left turns, right turns, turning in general was my tail swing. I just learned after a long time that to wait for the brake in the traffic next to me. So when the light turns green, then I'll slowly start moving up. I slowly start moving up, right? And then, and then as soon as that car, or there's a brake in the cars, then I turn. And my tail swing goes in the brake of the cars. Does that make sense? This is a horrible error illustration. But, you just look for that brake in the cars. You just learn it. I don't even know how to explain it to you. I use my mirror, right? I use my mirror. Can you see it? I don't know. I can't see it. Let me see if I can turn my... I can't. But I use my mirror right here. And I check... This mirror too. I check for the brake in the traffic. So when there's traffic there and the light turns green, some of the cars start to go and it leaves gaps in between the cars. And that's where I'll put my tail swing. So, anyway, this is a long video. It's already half an hour. But I hope this helps. And God bless to you and be safe out there.